everyone. So, although the session is named as creator and developers, I'm not really a good creator or developer. Only probably the first intern job is, like 12 years ago, trying to convert these Word-based, Office Word-based Chinese document into HTML, CSS standards. That's probably the creator's job. I mean, I'm more like an internet researcher, but I mean, I benefit a lot from these kind of geolinguistic standards of the web. I mean, without them, I cannot do my research. So I'm here just trying to, as a user, trying to like some kind of a bug report about what's wrong with the country and language selectors we see in major websites. So what is a language selector switcher? I mean, it's one of the templates by European Commission. You will see on the top right corner, you have the language selector there. And the order of it, and the name of it, and the code of it are quite important. I'll explain why. And that's another commercial website, something about fly search, and that's another language selector. And you will see there's kind of a difference between them, right? So the order really matters because, I mean, it goes back to the question about information science, about how do you index all this, and how do human reader, human users are trying to find them out, right? It's like you're trying to read a book and trying to look up the index, and you don't know what's the exact order of it. Sometimes it's just kind of random, and it becomes a big problem if you have more provisions, right? Thinking about if a website just supports like 3 languages, I mean, it's easy to find out whether your language is supported or not. But if a website is, supports like more than 100, think about the continued effort a users need to find the one. Not to mention my frustration as a Chinese user. I'm originally from Taiwan, so it's rather quite difficult. That's another example of a language selector from a major hotel website. So you see a different approach. Yeah, they have different order, different flags, and different country names and different things. And that's another about the country selector. That's one of the European justice websites. Again, you see the order is kind of arbitrary, right? Why Australia is between Netherlands and Poland? And I will explain why, because it's kind of a bug. And also, that's another country selector from flight, and another country selector. They use geographic categorization here. So, I mean, of course, if we trying to use that for Europe, it will be a contestation about what is Central Europe, what is Eastern Europe. I'm not getting into get into that, but let me say that they matter because they matter for user experience, right? Since this day, we heard a lot about the experience of users, and it really matters because sometimes if the auto detection fails to detect the proper language interface for the users have to choose the right one for them, and then here comes the paradox of choice. The more choices you have, that means it could mean higher cognitive costs for users to find the language they want, especially when the order of it is actually kind of arbitrary, and whether it's name-based or a code-based and anything. And also in the European context, it is important that because according to European Commission's Information Providers Guide, language selection tool is mandatory. But right now, the language selection tool that is included here as a template for everyone to use. And they matter in a way that I'm trying to bring out my research on Chinese Wikipedia and Baidu Baike. And the way Chinese Wikipedia serves themselves is actually quite important compared to Baidu Baike, because that comes down to the question about standardization of not the web, but the language itself, right? The standardization of Chinese is actually quite controversial. And the reason why I bring out the Chinese Wikipedia example is that they're trying to develop an interface that can satisfy the user from Hong Kong, Taiwan, and mainland China without too many contestation. In my published IEEE article, I really think it's a very interesting language selector. You can get mainland simplified Chinese, Hong Kong traditional Chinese, Taiwan, Malaysia, Singapore. So they do this kind of a conversion as well. So that makes me, trying to question about what's really wrong with the order of things here. If you look at the code behind the Justice European website, you will see the reason why Australia becomes the Netherlands and Poland, because the value of it is coded in. It should be that they should have leading 0 or something, right? And that brings me to the question: what's the right order, right? The right order is actually and right names, right? That's another inconsistent choice between names like official names and customary names, whether it should be South Korea, Taiwan, etc. So that's the kind of a more academic term of it, and more, and that's why the collation is trying to use as a. It really depends on the literacy you have. I mean, we used to have this kind of alphabetic order, right? We know how to find the alphabetic order. I mean, for other language or other character sets, they have different orders. And that really matters for people to find the country or find the language they are looking for. And it's really frustrating for Chinese users as well, because we don't have a consistent order, and we do have consistent collations for different locale. I mean, if you know something about database, they have different collation for data character sites. So my suggestion is that maybe the EU can lead the world by providing a consistent collation in web design, not in everything, but just start with the limited number of languages and countries. That would be a great service to the world. And also, based on my user experience, I would say probably the autocomplete based on both codes and names. For example, if you use some of the flight websites, you can actually type in not only the airport names, but also the airport codes to find the flight you want. And that brings back to the question about whether the user should know the country codes and language codes. And as a geek myself, I think it's very important for them to know. And like the way we understand or memorize the dialing phone code, the country codes, right, in our country. And it's not a big effort to remember the country code for your language, for your country and for your language. And in terms of EU, I would say we definitely need some kind of a complete world coverage for the templates. The templates, right now you have 24 official languages plus 3, like Norway, Turkish, I forgot the other ones. Oh, it doesn't matter. I mean, still you can have the kind of EU official language and member state subsets, and you can have different geographic categorization schemes. For example, you have UN geographic schemes, World Bank, and CIA. So, they have different geographic categorization of countries, and that can be used for a country selector as well. So another principle I would really suggest is that it's the separation of language and states. It's not separation of religion and states, but language and states, and particularly the use of flags. You probably know why, because I'm from Taiwan, so I may have some reservation when I try to choose Chinese over a Chinese flag. But there's some kind of you can check out the website about the user experience and the language menus. Please consider these kind of options of not using the flags, but thinking about the possibility of using the language codes, because they are quite useful and they are more neutral than, and they are standards, right? They are better web standards than international norms about the flags. So. So the implication of this talk is that we definitely need best practices in terms of presenting a list of languages and countries, and then for users to select their target language and countries. And for EU, I think all these tools, if you cover the world, it will be useful for any websites, including in private sector and public sectors, to use them. And as a literacy program, it might be a good way to promote this kind of information literacy about knowing your language code and knowing your country code so that you can better interact with the web standard and with the website that is built with language and country code that is important. Thank you.